No way out? Having returned to the warehouse, Qian realizes he might have underestimated the difficulty of this job. In just a few minutes, his sand points have dwindled to 17, and at this rate, becoming an idiot is just a matter of time. That's when an idea suddenly strikes Qian, and he yanks off his work badge from his chest. In a flash of his vision, he is back in his familiar home. Chapter 2. Does this insurance hurt? The key issue seems to be that neither the hard approach nor the soft approach is working. Wait a second. Considering the old man's inscrutable combat strength, taking him on directly is certainly not going to work. But the soft approach? Judging by the old man's last reaction, there is at least some room for communication. As long as communication is possible, convincing him with reason isn't out of the question. It's just that the guy's eyes are obviously keen. Even if he clenches his teeth and claims he isn't in pain, his expression has already betrayed him. Expression. Without any hesitation, he grabs his cell phone and leaves the house. Sir, are you looking for someone? Half an hour later, a receptionist at a maternity center carefully eyes Qian. I heard you have a device here for experiencing the pain of childbirth? Yes. Do you want to try it? The receptionist's eyes light up immediately, as if she is looking at a piece of meat on the chopping board. What a good man. Whoever becomes your wife is truly fortunate. Is it guaranteed to hurt? Qian interrupts her, asking the question he cares most about. Guaranteed hurt? His question obviously shocks the receptionist, causing her smile to stiffen. Of course, our device is the highest grade on the market right now, with top-notch simulation effects. Then let's get started. Qian blinks. I can't wait. Soon enough, Qian finds himself lying on the instrument, or rather, the torture device. A few middle-aged women gather around him, with one who looks like a director flipping through his paperwork. Mr. Fu, our device's pain levels go from 1 to 10. We'll start from the lowest and increase gradually. If it's too much for you, just say stop. If you're ready, we'll start from level 1. No need. Just crank it up to level 10. Qian yawns. It is a joke, given that once inside, there will be no time for acclimatization. What matters is the ability to adapt to sudden, intense shocks. Are you sure? What do you think? So arrogant. The women exchange glances, their eyes filled with murderous intent, and the one speaking even grits her teeth. Turn it on for him. Is this it? As the device is activated, an intense pain surges through him, but it seems hardly different from being kicked in the groin. Qian focuses intently on the electric current's painful stimuli, doing his utmost to keep his expression natural. A few minutes later, the women staring at him wear big question marks on their faces and can't help but check the device. Weird. Is it broken? Sir, are you in pain? The lead director asks cautiously. Of course it hurts. Can't you tell? Can't really tell. Your face looks like someone enjoying a warm bath. How could anyone tell? The director frowns. It still doesn't feel enough. Qian also frowns secretly. In terms of pain levels, it still falls short of the ordeal in the containment scenario. Is 10 the maximum level? Hearing Qian's question unexpectedly, the director is a bit stunned. The device itself does have up to level 12, but let's go with level 12. Qian doesn't give her a chance to object. Way too arrogant. The director grits her teeth and gives a signal with her eyes to someone beside her. Crank it up to level 12. But it's okay. The equipment might be broken. This is a good chance to test it. The director's face is expressionless. This is somewhat interesting. Moments later, Qian takes a couple of deep breaths, using all the strength in his body to maintain a Mona Lisa smile. Mr. Fu, are you all right? This weird expression sends shivers down the spine of several women. I'm fine, feeling absolutely fantastic. After much effort to turn Mona Lisa's killer smile into the Mona Lisa's smile, Qian leaves the maternity clubhouse satisfied. A few minutes after his departure, the clubhouse erupts with screams like that of a slaughtering pig. Wearing a solemn expression, Qian goes back into the warehouse with his work badge once again. Would you like to spend 1 sand point to attempt containment again? Yes. You're awake? Accompanied by the familiar voice, agony floods in like a tidal wave once more. Fu Qian controls every muscle in his body, filling himself with benevolence, calmness, and purity. Yes, I'm feeling much better today. I think I don't need any treatment anymore. Is that so? The old man scrutinizes Fu Qian carefully for a long while, before finally murmuring, "That's good." As he lifts his hand, a long syringe is withdrawn from the back of Fu Qian's hand. The moon is exceptionally warm tonight. Go out and take a look. Perseverance pays off. It is finally worth the agony of the knots in his intestines. Fu Qian sighs inwardly, yet his face remains expressionless. Cautiously controlling his body to rise from the bed, Fu Qian coldly greets the old man and heads in the direction he pointed. Only now does he see the full view of the room. The wooden room, at a glance, resembles some abandoned hospital clinic. Strictly speaking, the space isn't too small, but the problem is that most of it is crammed with clutter, with all sorts of messy things lying around. Walking on it even produces creaking sounds. This ramshackle place looks as if a kick to the wall might allow one to gaze at the moon from inside the room. Despite his complaints, Fu Qian quickly reaches the door and finds that it is not only in poor condition, but also nearly half blocked by clutter. Hurry up! The moon is about to set! Just as he thinks to take a closer look outside, the old man's voice eerily comes from behind. Is he threatening me? The ivy had already been removed. If I don't go outside, are you going to chop me up? Fu Qian sniffs, and the next moment, out of the corner of his eye, he catches sight of the old man standing up. A scythe, absurdly large in the man's hands, is shining with a cold light that hoots the eyes. Getting goosebumps, Fu Qian steps out without any hesitation. Beautiful, beautiful! A cobalt canvas of stars unfurls overhead, deep and boundless, centered around a large, peerless bright moon. The old man hadn't lied to him. Fu Qian has never seen such an exaggeratedly full moon. It feels as if it fills half the sky. Someone with a fear of large objects would probably have collapsed to the ground from this overwhelming sensation. Most importantly, as the snow-white moonlight shines upon him, Fu Qian feels the pain in his body rapidly dissipating. So this is the way to relieve pain? Praise the moon! Fu Qian takes 2 steps forward, unable to resist the urge to strike a pose. Shh! A sharp gust of wind assaults him, accompanied by a spray of blood. Fu Qian feels a pain in his back as the scenery before him quickly fades away. In his final moments, Fu Qian exerts all his strength to turn his head, eager to see who had so dishonorably ambushed him. There is nothing. Containment failed. Survival time, 5 minutes. Evaluation. A glimpse into the dreamlike experience. Agony can refine one's sensibility. The moon has left you enchanted. Reward. Inspiration +1. Inspiration increases your perceptual ability towards intangible things. Current sand points, 16. Chapter 3. The Useless Person. Great! At this rate, Fu Qian will soon become a mental patient with 0 sand points.
Sand points, -1. Enter containment scenario.
Fu Qian doesn't hesitate to choose to restart. The consecutive failures successfully spark his interest. Are you awake? The old man's familiar voice comes through. Once again, gritting his teeth to persuade with reason, Fu Qian climbs out of bed and comes to the door, squinting as he looks outside. There is something new in the courtyard. A human torso and limbs, an exaggeratedly long neck, and a head full of hair. At this moment, this odd creature with 2 hollow eye sockets gazes up at the starry sky, motionless. With such a demonic stance, could this be the legendary werewolf transformed under the full moon? The problem is that apart from its head, its body is completely bare. One can even vaguely make out human facial features. It seems more like a bearded zombie. What is most eye-catching are the strips of tattered cloth on its body. Had this thing been a human before and discovered the beauty of wildness to return to nature here? Fu Qian makes an irresponsible guess. Considering its position, I must have walked right onto its face. No wonder I was sent flying with a slap. This monstrously large claw, probably bigger than my own head, must have been the weapon that finished me off. As for why it was invisible before, but now visible, Fu Qian feels he has guessed the reason. The issue is likely with that inspiration +1. It allows me to see more things. The moon is about to set. The old man's urging voice comes from behind again. This time, Fu Qian doesn't turn back. He creeps low, sticking to the blind spot in the werewolf's field of vision, and quietly walks out. The werewolf stays in its place, continuing to gaze at the starry sky, showing no reaction to Fu Qian's actions. Quietly heaving a sigh of relief, Fu Qian carefully surveys the surroundings and quickly finds an exit, a stone double door. But the problem is that the door looks extremely heavy and is only a few meters away from the werewolf. Could this get any more annoying? You might as well just let it ride on top. Complaints aside, Fu Qian doesn't allow anger to cloud his judgment. Instead, he seriously analyzes his current predicament. Regardless of the difficulty, one must analyze the situation calmly, confront it steadily, and ultimately, elegantly sever the boss's head. That is the romance of a man. And currently, it seems I have two choices. One, play hide and seek here with the werewolf, betting that its eyes and nose and whatnot are all ineffectual. Remain still if the enemy doesn't move, and just wait out the time until the end. After all, the condition to achieve containment is to survive 1 hour. 2, face the risk of being clawed through the heart and open that door that seems to weigh a ton. Then run to the back where untold dangers might lurk. Fu Qi decisively decides to try the first option first. As everyone knows, if you want to survive long in the movies, the first rule is, if it's not necessary, do not be rash. Fu Qian notes the prompt in the upper left corner of his vision, indicating he has already successfully survived for 15 minutes this time. Being extremely cautious not to make a sound, Fu Qian slowly moves, and finally, with his back to the werewolf, hides himself behind a tree. 16, 17, 20! At the 20th minute, the werewolf, which was gazing at the starry sky, suddenly howls and starts to move. After abandoning its strange posture, the werewolf seems exceedingly agitated. Moving with an incredible speed, it begins to leap around the courtyard, almost instantly discovering Fu Qian behind the tree. Damn it! With no way to avoid it, Fu Qian is once again sent flying with a swipe.
Containment failed. Survival time, 20 minutes. Assessment. A useless person. The most foolish thing is to expect a madman to follow the rules. Reward. None. Current sand points, 15.
So hiding doesn't work, huh? Fu Qian exhales deeply, keenly aware of the malice in this place. No wonder they set a task to survive for an hour. It seems that the werewolf standardly starts freaking out after 20 minutes, so my plan to hunker down in the yard until the end is unworkable. If I retreat, there's still the god of death old man in the house. The only solution now, it seems, is to open the stone door and run out. But not to mention how to avoid being detected first. Was this even something a human could push? Fu Qian, once again entering the containment scene, looks at the heavy stone door with a face full of grief and anger. Either way, he has to try. Fu Qian quietly picks up a stone from the ground and throws it toward the distance. The stone hasn't even hit the ground when a black flash darts by. The werewolf, which had been gazing up at the starry sky, springs up at the sound of the wind. In an instant, it crosses several meters and swats the stone away with a swipe of its paw. Before Fu Qian can swear, the werewolf in midair doesn't hesitate to push off with its hind legs, change direction, and leap across half the field to crash into Fu Qian's arms. Fu Qian's plan to create a diversion instantly falls through.
Containment failed. Survival time, 10 minutes. Rating. Useless person. Current sand points, 14.
What the hell is this precious thing? Again!
Sand points decreased by 1, entering containment scene.
To convince with reason. Getting up, going out, hiding. Looking at the werewolf posing in the yard, Fu Qian begins to seriously contemplate the issue of resigning. At this rate, there is absolutely no way out for humans. Surviving an hour is an impossible task. If he fails again, his sand points will be down to 13. He is getting closer to idiocy. It is clear that the werewolf has exceptionally keen hearing and will be alerted by any slight rustling. But if he doesn't open the door, once the time is up and it stands up, he'd certainly be heading down a dead end. He glances back at the cabin. The old man is eyeing him warily, scythe in hand, gleaming brightly. An idea strikes Fu Qian. What had he said to him earlier? To come out and look at the moon. But he had been looking at the moon for so long, and it seems there is no change. Could it be that he was gazing at it the wrong way? Fu Qian has always been known for his exceptional divergent thinking since childhood, even earning the reputation of having a broad mind like that of a mental patient. Observing the werewolf in the yard, he has an idea. Finding a spot, Fu Qian stretches out his hand, lifts his head, and mimics the werewolf's actions, gazing intensely at the moon. No response? Fu Qian is not one to give up easily. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Just as the werewolf begins to shake its body, getting ready to walk around again, a change finally takes place. The heavy-looking stone door silently opens from the outside. Who would have thought it could work like that? Although his guess has been confirmed, Fu Qian can't feel happy. This place is quite eerie. Who knows how many more things are waiting for him ahead? But with the way now open, Fu Qian quickly drops his pose. Controlling himself to make no sound at all, he moves step by step to the position of the gate, avoiding the werewolf's line of sight. Here goes nothing. Darting out the door, his view suddenly brightens. Fu Qian finally understands why this place is called Full Moon Garden. Across the undulating landscape, countless small flowers with white petals and yellow buds sway in the wind. Each petal, like a little mirror, reflects the bright moonlight, resembling a flowing stream of mercury. Luckily, at least for the moment, he hasn't discovered anything else. Fu Qian breathes a sigh of relief. The very next moment, he pulls that breath right back in. Chapter 4. Seeking Advice. Fu Qian gasps for breath. Then, the heat hits him like a furnace. His skin feels as if it were a candle in an oven, already melting, every cell restless, muscles twitching as if his body might fall apart. He glances up at the garden's flowers. Their petals form a silver river that seems to carry countless moons, reflecting bright flares onto his skin. The moonlight, previously unnoticed, is now concentrated and amplified by the petals, bathing him in an intense glow. A sudden change erupts on his arm. Flesh buds twitch, twist, and expand. Is this the start of a mutation? He wonders. But he doesn't freeze. He grabs a bud and yanks it off, agony shooting through him. More buds appear, and soon his entire arm transforms into a mass of writhing tentacles. It's hopeless, he thinks, abandoning any attempt to clear them, and instead focuses his mind on the growing tentacles, discovering he can barely control their movement. The tentacles drain his life force, and he knows he will soon become a decayed mass if he stays. He scans for an exit, finds none, and turns to run back. Before he can reach the stone door, his legs melt, deform, and begin fusing with the ground. He staggers back to the courtyard, loses his balance, and collapses, alerting the werewolf inside the door. With a howl, a dark shadow pounces on him.
Containment failed. Survival time, 25 minutes.
He had hoped the werewolf would ignore his slime-like state, but the creature attacks without hesitation. In the warehouse, the sound of the werewolf's chewing echoes in his ears. The garden's flowers are clearly abnormal, and the mutation spreads too fast to destroy them. He cannot stay in Full Moon Garden. Even crawling at a snail's pace won't let him survive an hour. All dead ends stem from insufficient strength, he mutters. If he could knock the old man down with one kick and kill the werewolf with 2 punches, salvation would appear. He pats his head, trying to clear his thoughts. Setting aside feasibility, he asks himself who to fight first. The old man is inscrutable in cunning and strength. The werewolf seems easier, with average intelligence. For a creature larger than him, with overwhelming strength, speed, and reflexes, what martial art could kill it? Back at his home, Fu Qian removes his work badge, boots up his computer, and searches how to fight a grown tiger with bare hands. He scrolls through chaotic advice. Physical capabilities vary. In extreme anger, first be very strong. Don't panic. Don't turn your back. Stare into the tiger's eyes. As it pounces, go for a sliding tackle. After a few tackles, you'll overwhelm the tiger. One entry catches his eye. Slide tackle. A glimmer of hope appears. Sand points decrease by 1. Entering containment scenario. Fu Qian re-enters the Full Moon Garden for the 8th time. He opens the garden door, but doesn't step through. He sticks out both hands. The petal-reflected light instantly illuminates his hands, and flesh tendrils bulge out. Excellent, he thinks, retracting his arms and turning his head. Under the moonlight, the werewolf brother rises, staring silently at him. The oppressive feeling intensifies. Defeating this creature is the only way to complete his mission. The werewolf lets out a piercing howl and leaps like a black bolt of lightning. Remembering the advice, don't turn your back, keep eye contact, Fu Qian breathes deeply and, instead of retreating, advances. He runs a few steps, then drops, sliding his body beneath the werewolf's belly. The secret move, Tiba secret technique, slide tackle. He thrusts one grotesquely swollen arm into the werewolf's mouth, past its white, sharp teeth. The creature snaps shut, nearly severing his arm. Fu Qian wraps his other arm tightly around the werewolf's neck, preventing himself from being thrown. Inside the mouth, every tendril on his arm erupts, extending through the creature's mouth and esophagus. He commands them to tear at everything, entangling the werewolf's organs. "You trying to fuck with me?" The creature seems to roar. Fu Qian pulls with all his strength, ripping outward. A horrifically brutal howl erupts from the werewolf's mouth. In excruciating pain, the werewolf goes berserk, smashing everything around it. Yet Fu Qian, his arm deformed, clings to its chest and neck, staying in the blind spot of its claws. The courtyard is reduced to ruin, and finally, the werewolf collapses. Fu Qian scrambles out, tears the remaining flesh off his left hand, and mutters, "A slide tackle, then choke it to death. The brother from Tieba had a good idea." He sits on the ground, breathing heavily. The rebellious cells in his arm creep back slowly. The mutation isn't rapid now, so he should last about an hour, unless something else moves. He looks up and sees the old man from the house appear in the courtyard, having set aside his scythe. The old man watches him with a peculiar expression, then nods. "Not bad at all. Your way of fighting is quite impressive." Facing such a monster, what made you think of confronting and even killing it? Fu Qian thinks the old man is just talking nonsense. As the hour approaches, he sighs in relief. You really don't get it, do you? To a true gamer, as long as it has a health bar, even if it's a god, I'll kill it for you to see. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. The Rewards of Not Being Human. Chapter 5. The Rewards of Not Being Human. The mission is over, and Fu Qian finds himself back in the warehouse, where a series of messages scrolls rapidly across the screen. First, a confirmation. His survival duration of 1 hour was achieved, and containment of subject number 3-2048 successful. Then comes the assessment, mad to the marrow. The system congratulates him on his accomplishment, stating, "In a nightmare fraught with danger, your savage and bloody performance suited the scenario all too well, earning you the right to survive." Congratulations on achieving the accomplishment. I'm no longer human. After all, from your behavior, your attachment to humanity doesn't seem strong. It also confirms that a werewolf was killed. For his rewards, Fu Qian receives Sand Points plus 20, Inspiration plus 5, and a new skill, Air Bullet. There's also a special achievement reward, Visceral Critical Strike. Finally, the system asks, would you like to replay the event recap? Fu Qian feels indignant about that assessment. What do they mean my attachment to being human isn't strong? He wonders, looking around. He notices that the mist gate he came through has disappeared. Finally, it's done, he sighs in relief. He can't deny it, though. This job is really intense, but the rewards aren't too shabby. After several trials and errors, his sand points had fallen to the teens, but with this boost of 20 points, he is compensated for the loss. Otherwise, with the rate he had been going, he probably would have gone mad in a few days. The assessment, though, is another story. It's a bit nuanced, hard to say if it's meant as praise or criticism. Seeing the option for an event recap playback, Fu Qian doesn't hesitate to choose the replay. Reliving the process, Fu Qian notices even more details. When he sees himself under the moonlight, extracting the werewolf's internal organs and other messy bits with his transformed arms, he understands why he was given the mad to the marrow assessment. Of course, understanding does not mean agreement. In fact, Fu Qian doesn't think there's anything wrong with his actions at all. He believes that confronting a formidable enemy head-on, fearless and undeterred, using every method possible to smash the opponent beneath his feet, is a sort of manly romance.
That, he thinks, is the beauty of blood. Nothing to do with going mad.
Additionally, he notices that it was at this moment the old man in the house had put away his scythe, sizing him up as he left the room. Completely unconcerned about being affected by the fight, the old man certainly hadn't chosen the wrong opponent. Fu Qian realizes he was likely much stronger than the werewolf. After watching the recap, Fu Qian begins to tally up his gains. He checks out his new skill. Air bullet. Compress air to form an invisible bullet. Not very powerful, but excels in stealth. "This is pretty cool," Fu Qian exclaims, his eyes lighting up. He rubs his fingers together to test it out, and an invisible bullet whizzes out instantly, shooting straight into the depths of the warehouse. Its range is decent, and it activates quite swiftly. Even if it isn't very powerful, its convenience is definitely a plus. With just this one gain alone, most of Fu Qian's resentment has dissipated. Having this skill on hand for future missions will definitely be a great asset. He then remembers there was also a special reward. Fu Qian quickly finds the other item. Visceral Critical Strike. Seize the opportunity to penetrate the wound and directly damage the opponent's viscera, inflicting devastating damage. A cruel finishing move that elegantly relieves your prey of their burdens. Flashes of himself extracting the werewolf's entrails with his mutated tentacles cross Fu Qian's mind. Awkward amount, he thinks. How could this reward not be related to his own actions? Could there be some sort of misunderstanding? He really isn't that fond of scooping out innards. Never mind, he decides. Having an extra skill is never a bad thing. Just then, a prompt sounds. "Today's work is complete. Thank you for your efforts. You may now leave the warehouse. See you tomorrow." No need to wait to clock out. That's a plus, Fu Qian thinks, taking off his work ID from around his neck. His vision goes dark, and the next moment, he finds himself back in his long-missed home. Commuting sure is convenient, he muses. After a moment, something occurs to Fu Qian. He picks up the phone on his desk and looks at it. A message pops up. Your account ending in 1269 has completed a transfer transaction of 30,000 yuan, with a remaining balance of 35,240. Fu Qian is still a bit startled when he finds this message. An annual salary of tens of millions, and it's settled daily? True industry conscience indeed. All his fatigue seems to vanish in an instant. Right, he remembers, slapping his forehead. It seemed I had forgotten something. He quickly logs into the forum, finding that comment about sliding tackle killing a tiger. He first clicks like, then quietly replies below. Tested, it works. That night, Fu Qian lies in bed, reflecting on his new job. It must be said, today's experiences really challenged his imagination, overturning much of his prior knowledge. But even with many inexplicably strange things, Fu Qian still finds enjoyment in it. Challenges, thinking, fighting. These seem to him much more interesting than a 996 work schedule. Fu Qian is beginning to psychologically accept this job. After resting for a night, Fu Qian has a quick breakfast the next morning and puts on his work ID again. Identity verification successful. Workday starts. The moment the warehouse appears before him, Fu Qian notices something is amiss. The entire warehouse is flickering with black patterns, and clusters of ethereal bone spurs are floating midair, looking grotesque and eerie. I knew it. Fu Qian isn't surprised in the slightest. It's becoming all too normal for something to happen in this warehouse each day. No need to ask, there has certainly been another leak. Warning, containment breach, code 2-133. Name, Ritual Notes. Today's work content has been updated. Enter 2-133's containment scene. Complete recontainment. You may choose the skills you wish to carry. Finally, not going in empty-handed, Fu Qian thinks, decisively picking Air Bullet and Visceral Critical Strike from the list of skills, and selecting Confirm. Entering 2-133 containment scene. Ancient City Containment Achievement Condition. Prevent the descent of the evil god's offspring. Current sand points, 32. Entering a containment scene will consume 1 sand point. Is this about slaying gods? These missions are really getting more thrilling one after the other. Fu Qian's intuition tells him that today's work will be particularly tough. The loading screen progresses. 1%, 5%, 50%, 98%, 100%. The ancient city has finished loading. The system provides a brief overview. An indescribable evil aura shrouds this once thriving place. Righteous night watchmen are doing their utmost to eradicate the omnipresent corruption. Sadly, they have yet to realize what they are about to face. His available skills are listed. Skills: Air Bullet, Visceral Critical Strike. And his weapon: none. Night Watchman? Fu Qian hears this unfamiliar title for the first time, but even though he's unsure what exactly this group is, since they are described as righteous, he feels they might still be of some use. At this moment, Fu Qian's vision slowly comes back, and then he sees a pair of eyes. The eyes are so close that they fill his entire field of vision. Amber pupils are motionless, staring straight at him. Fu Qian tries to move and finds it hard to breathe. Something is choking his neck. "Can you hear me?" An ethereal, melodious voice sounds the next moment. Fu Qian frowns, quickly recalling his experience from before. Use verbal communication more, physical gestures less. So even though he is nearly gasping for air, he still struggles to make a sound. The next moment, a bright flash of knife light passes by, and Fu Qian feels an icy chill in his chest as blood gushes out. "I'm sorry." The voice resounds once more, this time with a hint of sobbing. "My sins have grown even deeper." Within the long sigh, Fu Qian's vision darkens. Chapter 6 Test. What the fuck? Having returned to the warehouse, Fu Qian is unusually taken aback for a moment. This is totally illogical. You ask questions, I respond. Shouldn't we then exchange a few words back and forth? A simple apology, and then you just send me off? Can you hear me speaking? Re-entering, this time Fu Qian chooses not to respond, and instead leans back first. This time he finally gets a clear look at the person who had sent him away, a woman wearing a black, narrow hat, carrying a slender, curved sword in her hand. The lower half of her face is hidden by a high collar, and her full appearance couldn't be seen. From the part that is exposed, she should be a beauty, her skin white as snow, fine as porcelain. No, that is porcelain. The woman's face is distinctly different on both sides. The left half of her face has no skin, but is made of a white substance similar to bone china. Fu Qian looks down at the hand that is grasping his collar, and it isn't the shape of a normal human hand at all, but more like a doll's prosthetic limb. Night Watchman. That is the first thing that comes to Fu Qian's mind. Not to mention anything else, just her appearance alone makes it clear she is no ordinary person. But why would she want to kill him without a word? Remembering what had happened before, Fu Qian doesn't rush to make a move. From that one move that had sent him away, Fu Qian had already sensed that the strength of this porcelain woman is even greater than the werewolf he had encountered earlier, at least a level higher. Although he had obtained 2 skills, his physical strength is still that of an average person. There is a difference between him and the weaponized human figure in front of him, who was armed to the teeth. It's not like he could slide tackle her as he did the werewolf, right? As long as this woman has normal intelligence, she probably wouldn't give him the chance to execute a slide tackle headshot. Seeing that Fu Qian is observing her, sadness appears on the porcelain woman's face. She sighs, lets go of Fu Qian's collar, and bows lightly to him. "I'm very sorry. There's no time left. I must clear all the contaminated ones within this area. So, I'm sorry." She is about to take action again. The porcelain woman bows, and Fu Qian's eyelids twitch, knowing things are about to get bad. As expected, in the next moment, the bright gleam of the blade fills his view again, dazzling his eyes and causing them pain. Blood splatters. Realizing he absolutely couldn't dodge, Fu Qian resolutely controls his body's instinct to evade and takes the hit head-on. Allowing the shockingly deep wound to spurt blood wildly, Fu Qian shows no fear, instead offering a grim smile. Fu Qian. Porcelain woman looks puzzled. "My name is Fu Qian. What about you? I think I should know whose hand I am dying by." Fu Qian looks calmly at his murderer. She wanted to know his name. The porcelain woman is taken aback again. "Su Gao." Great. Fu Qian nods and can no longer hold on. Containment failed. Evaluation, useless person. Reward, none. Current sand points, 30. Back in the warehouse, Fu Qian has basically made some judgments about the current situation. First of all, this woman named Su Gao is most likely a member of the Night Watchman. And according to the initial prompts, they are on a mission, which is to purge the pollution in this area. Her words, and the fact that she chopped him down without saying anything, are because they must have considered the situation out of control. They even have to start indiscriminate cleaning of people like him who are found in the contaminated area. SAN points reduced by 1. Entering containment scene. Having cleared his thoughts, Fuqian chooses to enter again. Can you hear what I'm saying? Su Gao. Fuqian doesn't wait to see clearly this time and directly calls out the name of the porcelain woman. Don't waste time. We need to clean up all potential contaminants as soon as possible. The porcelain woman's hand, which is on the knife, freezes there. One could almost imagine her confusion as Fuqian glances at her. There's no time to explain. I need you to cooperate with my actions from now on. After hesitating for a long time, Su Gao finally puts down the knife and voices the question in her heart. How do you know my name? Fuqian, as if he hadn't heard her, casually asks in return, what's the situation like outside now? Answering a question with another question, Fuqian, who has mingled on the internet for many years, is very skilled at this maneuver. It is then that he realizes the woman named Su Gao is almost as tall as he is. Not too good. Indeed, the porcelain woman's attention is diverted, her tone immediately turning somber. You'll know if you go outside and see for yourself. Good. Fuqian takes 2 steps forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with her. Clang! The next moment, he silently fires an air bullet. At such a close distance, it is nearly impossible for the porcelain woman to avoid it. One side of her face is hit squarely, emitting a sound like shattering glass. You! Su Gao's voice is a mixture of shock and anger. The power of the air bullet is a bit stronger than expected, though it might also be related to her special form. Struck by the air bullet, 1/2 of the porcelain woman's head is like tempered glass that had shattered, instantly covered in dense cracks, yet no blood comes out. This woman really is abnormal. The next moment, the bright glint of a blade reappears, and Fuqian is drenched in his own blood on the spot. So you've truly gone completely mad at your core, haven't you? The porcelain woman's sigh lingers for a long time. Containment failed. Evaluation. Cold-blooded animal. Stealth attacks are a valuable trait, the ultimate form of respect toward an enemy. Reward. None. Special evaluation reward. Cat school. Current SAN points. 29. Excellent. Back at the warehouse, Fuqian shows no signs of dejection, silently analyzing his gains. First, his judgment is correct. This woman is not normal. For reasons unknown, parts of her body have transformed into that porcelain quality, even to the extent of not bleeding when injured. What price is she paying for the power she wields? Or had she originally been an enchanted doll? Combining this with his current objective, to prevent the descent of the offspring of the evil god, this world really is full of oddities. The good news is, as a night watchman, this woman should be considered part of the forces of order and righteousness. Her strength is formidable. She's a reliable enforcer. And the fact that he could indeed injure beings of their level with strikes like the one he just dealt is also good news. Overall, the outcome of this encounter was worth it. As for what would happen if the porcelain woman was actually killed, those who kill will be killed in turn. This woman had attempted to clean up Fuqian more than once now, so he feels no psychological burden at the prospect of ending her. Right. It seemed there was also a skill reward? Recalling something, Fuqian quickly reviews his special rewards. Cat school. Your steps are as light and unnoticeable as a cat's. Your hands are more dexterous, your movements more agile, making it much easier for you to launch stealth attacks anytime, anywhere. Simply put, it's an enhancement to agility. Upon attempting immediate activation, Fuqian feels a lightness come over him, as if his control over his body has improved significantly. This cut was truly not endured in vain. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Bluffing. 1. SAN points decreased by 1. Entering containment scenario. Fuqian reaches out and touches the mist gate, which has appeared in the warehouse once again. This time, Fuqian doesn't play any tricks and honestly follows the porcelain white Su Gao outside. As they walk out of the building, Fuqian realizes what Su Gao's unease actually means. It seems like it should have been a bustling street, but unfortunately, there is not a soul in sight. The most striking thing is above them. The originally blue sky is now completely covered by a turtle shell-like mysterious pattern, as if a giant umbrella has been put up. Has the true evil god descended? In light of this situation, it is understandable why Sugao and the others are so tense. As for why there is not a single person on the street, Fuqian thinks he has already guessed the answer. Have all the people been evacuated? Fuqian turns and asks. Only the part that could be evacuated, Sugao replies in a low tone. We received orders to investigate, but unfortunately, we arrived too late. In this area, close to the source of pollution, the mutations have begun, and the cursed citizens are starting to transform into a deformed state. Considering the risk, my teammates and I are in the process of cleaning up. Your decision is not wrong. I would do the same. Fuqian doesn't blame them, but expresses his agreement. The situation is quite clear now. Miss Sugao and her teammates received orders to investigate and found a severe pollution curse here. After evacuating the outer crowd, they have no choice but to clean up the citizens who could not be saved. This could also explain his previous encounter when he was attacked without so much as a word. No wonder this woman has the expression of being toyed with. She has clearly become emotionally overwhelmed. They now define the incident as a severe pollution curse, but probably still don't know about the godson of the evil god. This is what is meant by, they still don't know what they are dealing with, at the beginning of the introduction. The good news is that from what he can see, this beautiful woman and her teammates have roughly the same goal as him, but earning their trust is not going to be easy. Actually, I am the same. Before Sugao can say anything else, Fuqian hums and looks up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. I have also been contaminated. Upon hearing this, a glint of cold light flashes in Sugao's eyes. But in the end, the hand holding the knife does not move. Fuqian seems unaware of her action. I inadvertently discovered something unusual here and came to investigate, but the curse was unstoppable. I am now barely suppressing it from taking effect, but I won't last long. I will tell you when it's time for you to use your knife. But before that, I need to fulfill my responsibility. To get these people to listen to his arrangements, pretending to be a transcendent is very necessary. But they are all professionals, and the strength he exudes cannot fool them. That's when he needs an excuse for not being in top condition. While Fuqian is bluffing, he quickly sees several people running over from different directions. Leading them is a middle-aged man in his 40s, tall, with sharp eyes flashing on his lean, dark face. What's going on? At the sight of Fuqian, the middle-aged man furrows his brow and cannot help but question Sugao. There is no room for mercy in this operation. Otherwise, it might result in the deaths of thousands or even millions of people. Captain, Sugao nods in salute to him and points at Fuqian by her side. We found him over there. He claims he came to investigate the anomalies as well. He came to investigate? The middle-aged man looks at Fuqian with a mix of shock and suspicion. Correct. Fuqian's expression is more natural than nature itself. Sugao has already told me. The situation is worse than we imagined. We had better hurry up. What are you? There are 4 official night watchmen here, and by the look of your power, you're just an ordinary person. What gives you the right to bark orders? However, before the captain can even speak, a buzz-cut man from behind him has already rushed forward to take the lead. Fuqian glances at him, noting that this man appears much younger and is incredibly burly. His hair stands up spike by spike, and in the not-so-warm weather, he wears only a short-sleeved shirt. At the moment, like everyone else, he is covered in splattered blood, and his expression is fierce and vicious. It is obvious that he is in a killing frenzy, likely to lash out at the slightest provocation. There's no time to delay. Let's discuss as we move. Nonetheless, Fuqian ignores him, still addressing the captain. Captain, this man's state is suspicious, and it's highly likely he has been contaminated. I believe he should be dealt with immediately. The buzz-cut man, being ignored, has his eyes turned blood red, ready to eliminate Fuqian on the spot. Indeed, I have been cursed, Fuqian responds, startling the few of them. You don't feel it because I am barely holding back the curse from acting out, at the cost of having almost no combat strength. Behold. Fuqian gently lifts his hand, and an air bullet shoots out from his fingertip, striking a street lamp nearby. I can only offer a negligible amount of help. He is actually a transcendent. The captain and others, including Sugao, are taken aback. Regardless, such an ability is definitely not something an ordinary person can perform. The captain's gaze drifts to Sugao, hoping she can provide more information. However, Sugao is visibly in a bad mood, just standing like a puppet on the spot, oblivious to the captain's hopeful gaze. In the end, the captain hesitates for a moment before stopping the buzzcut man, who is itching for action. Since we all share the same goal, that's good news. May I ask your name? Lucky break! Upon being asked this, Fuqian knows things are settled. Just call me Fuqian, he replies, while maintaining an inscrutable expression. Since you've been investigating here beforehand, do you know the source of the contamination? One of the middle-aged members of the team, an old man who has been silent until now, suddenly asks. It's not easy, still on field duty with hair that's gone all white. Fuqian glances at the older night watchman, who seems more worn out than the others. Good question. Fuqian exhales. That's why I'm saying we don't have much time. We must prevent that thing from descending as soon as possible. Descending? That thing? The few of them are startled yet again. Indeed, Fuqian affirms with sincerity. The source of the contamination originates from an evil presence of extremely high stature. What you see now is just a minute fraction of its leaked power. I can tell you with responsibility that should that thing truly descend, the consequences are unimaginable. Like having to restart my mission all over again, Fuqian adds silently to himself. After he finishes speaking, the night watchmen look at each other in dismay. Following a moment of silence, the captain coughs. Then I won't keep secrets either. We are the night watchman squad of this district. Not long ago, we received a report of abnormal occurrences here, along with a large-scale casualty event. Upon arrival, we realized the situation was far from simple. After urgently evacuating the crowds, we had to make some necessary arrangements. I completely understand. I would have done the same, Fuqian interrupts him, indicating that the captain shouldn't feel any psychological burden. I am well aware of the horror of this curse. After fulfilling my responsibilities, I'll need your help to release me from it. What a brave soul! Even the captain is somewhat moved, finding Fuqian's figure more imposing than ever before. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 notes. 1. This stuff is getting thicker by the minute. We really shouldn't waste any time. Fuqian points upwards with his hand. It's a welcome surprise to successfully recruit 4 enforcers so smoothly. Without further delay, his priority is to lead the team to the side of the godson for delivery. And he isn't just talking nonsense. Just a few minutes after exiting the house, the shadows overhead have become even denser, significantly reducing visibility. Even the wind feels unpleasantly thick, as if it is laced with invisible needles that numb the skin. The perimeter should be almost clear by now. The team leader nods and gives firm orders. Considering Fuqian's poor condition, he specifically instructs the porcelain-skinned Sugao to watch over him closely. As for whether it is to protect or to monitor him, that is hard to say. Fuqian has no objections. After all, with his mysterious origins, it is impossible to dispel their wariness with just a few words. Not to mention that at the moment, they are all in a bloodthirsty frenzy. Soon, the group makes their way through the long street, heading towards the center of the shadows. The atmosphere along the way is incredibly tense, and everyone remains silent. Indeed, aside from the naturally twisted, there are few who can maintain a good mood after slaughtering their own kind, even if there are valid reasons. The area is an older residential district, with crowded buildings limiting visibility. Every member of the team proceeds with care, weapons at the ready, while Fuqian, walking in the middle of the group, is the most relaxed of all. As they near the central area, Fuqian suddenly becomes alert. A window on the brink swings open, and a gray blur whistles out, shooting straight for his face. Pop! The blade from Sugao and Fuqian's air bullet hit it almost simultaneously. The thing stumbles from the impact, then is swiftly sliced in two by Sugao. Even so, it still manages to leave a deep gash on Fuqian's shoulder, and half its body crawls on the ground for several meters before stopping. Habituated to pain through rigorous training, Fuqian pays little mind to the minor wound and immediately retreats to a safe distance. Only then does he get a clear look at what had attacked him. Black hair, a coat covered in grime. It must have been a person not long ago. Unfortunately, it is now completely deformed. Its body seems as if it had been stretched tenfold before snapping back into place, with most of its legs retracted into its torso, only the lower part visible. This is the first time I've seen such a curse. The crew-cut man takes a deep breath, his tone relaxing ever so slightly. Fu Qian notices that, including the team leader, everyone else shows similar reactions. They had hypothesized that the curse contamination would turn people into monsters, and now that it is confirmed, the guilt in their hearts lessens a bit. "How's your wound?" The team leader turns back to look at Fu Qian. "It's nothing. Let's keep going." Fu Qian acts as though he barely feels the wound on his shoulder, determined to maintain his tough image to the end. The team leader nods silently. He had observed Fu Qian's reaction to the attack. Now he is even more convinced that Fu Qian is a transcendent who is accustomed to life and death. Only such a person could have that kind of insight and courage. Impressed, the team leader resolves to find a way to lift Fu Qian's curse after resolving the incident. "Damn it! Why are there so many?" At that moment, they hear the crew-cut man curse in a low growl. In just a short while, maggot people, emerging from windows, rooftops, and even the pipes overhead, crowd in toward the group of 5. "Move!" the team leader orders decisively. The group starts moving quickly, aiming to carve out a path before being surrounded completely. Fu Qian, for his part, is quite cheerful, rewarding anyone who attacks with an air bullet, without exception. If he remembers correctly, the summary includes a count of enemies killed, which might affect rewards or something. Collecting data is always right. It is also a good opportunity to practice and improve his proficiency. Very quickly, his air bullets reach a level where every shot is a headshot. With the Cat School's bonuses, he can hit whatever he aims at. By the time the 5 of them turn the corner of the long street, the scene before them opens up. In a spacious hall, nearly 100 figures wrapped in human clothing are stooped over on the ground. Densely packed, they cover every field. Among them are no shortage of immaculately dressed individuals. Bodies even sway gently to some kind of rhythm. Damn, even Fu Qian, who prides himself on being well-informed, feels nauseous at this sight. The captain's face has turned as black as charcoal. Clearly, he hadn't anticipated the situation to be this grave. "All right, that's enough." But before he can speak, the always silent old man pipes up. Seeing everyone looking at him, the old man harumphs before continuing. "I believe this incident has exceeded our jurisdiction. We should report it to the authorities and let them send someone." "I think you've just chickened out." The buzz-cut man is the first to explode. "Report for handling? Don't tell me you don't know how long it'll take for them to get here." "That's right, I've chickened out," admits the old man, not the least bit ashamed. "I'm different from you. I only do what's within my responsibilities. The things we've done so far, we can still somehow explain. Now, with this scenario, what do you want to do? With so many people, if we really turn this place into a living hell, are you really confident we won't be dealt with? If we all fall here, that's when the situation will truly spiral out of control. We don't even know what caused the contamination curse. It's all been said by this fellow with an unclear background. Are you really trusting his words that much? Why is this coming back on me?" Seeing the old man pointing at him, Fu Qian calmly shakes his head. "There's no need to trust everything I've said. What I've said isn't entirely true anyway. We can't just walk away like this. We won't be able to explain ourselves if we go back," the captain says with a cold face. "Who says we found nothing?" The old man pulls out something and tosses it over. "At least we found this." Fu Qian glances at it, a ragged black notebook. "Where did you find this?" The captain looks startled. "During the cleanup," the old man harumphs, pointing at Fu Qian. "I just didn't trust him, so I didn't show it until now. With this thing, we can't be considered to have come away empty-handed, right?" Seeing the remaining 3 people fall into silence, seemingly persuaded, Fu Qian feels uneasy. That's not right. This feels like disbanding the team before we've even seen the boss. Fu Qian points at the object in the captain's hand. "That, may I take a look at it?" This is an important item. Before the captain can respond, the buzz-cut man gets angry first. However, the captain ignores him and hands over the notebook. "There's no harm in letting you see it. This item is connected to another incident we've been investigating. I've looked through it before. There's nothing unusual." The notebook is thin, with not much content. Fu Qian flips through it with his fingertips, frowning. "I can't understand this part below. What does it mean?" "What?" Following where Fu Qian is pointing, everyone looks incredulous. "You're not joking?" "Why would I joke? This section here is all messed up. It's completely unreadable." The captain silently hands over a stick. "Can you copy it down?" Fu Qian asks. Why? Because to us, that section appears blank. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, Exhausting Every Effort. Indeed, it was so. From the reactions of the crowd a moment before, Fu Qian had felt something amiss, and now he finally confirms the reason. None of the four could see this part of the text. It was only visible to him. Fu Qian didn't put much stock in explanations like being a chosen one. After some thought, the only explanation would have to do with the inspiration he had gained previously, especially since he gained quite a bit of inspiration after the last successful containment. Inspiration was said to enhance one's perception of intangible things. It must be the reason he could see the special content in the notes. Fu Qian didn't waste words. Amidst the complex looks from the others, he quickly sketches the content he saw on the ground. For him, completing the mission against the clock was the most important thing. He couldn't afford to miss any clues. The passage wasn't long, and Fu Qian finished drawing it quickly. The group stared at what he had drawn, all of them exchanging confused glances. What is this? Cuneiform script? Seems like some kind of code? No clue whatsoever. The captain was clearly just as baffled. Sugo, what do you think? Unexpectedly, this girl turned out to be the tech expert of the team. Fu Qian glanced at the porcelain-skinned woman. It should be a type of special cipher. Sugao pondered for a moment before giving her judgment. I have a few ideas about the direction to take, but deciphering it won't be easy. It requires ample time, which we absolutely don't have under the current circumstances. Isn't that completely pointless then? Just a waste of time. A wave of disappointment swept through the group. Let me give it a try. Fu Qian suddenly spoke up. You understand it? Everyone turned to look at Fu Qian in unison. I don't, but I can learn. Fu Qian said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world, and turned to Sugao. Tell me your guesses first. This... Sugao wasn't completely stunned, and murmured a few ideas. Learn my ass! It was then that the crew cut man couldn't hold back his anger and burst out yelling. He had found Fu Qian annoying for a long time now. Never mind the unexplained origins, yet making everyone listen to him. To slow the spread of the curse, they had turned into butchers, willing to slaughter their own kind. And this guy still had the mood to fool around here? Rage-fueled power gathered in his palms. The crew-cut man was now genuinely intent on killing. However, before he could step forward, a sharp sense of danger rose in his heart. Suddenly turning around, an air bullet grazed past his neck. At the same time, blood splattered as another air bullet obliterated his left eye. Everyone stood frozen on the spot. This bastard had attacked without warning, evidently with the intent to kill. They'd been deceived. This guy really was trouble. Without concerning himself with what the others were thinking, Fu Qian didn't hesitate to target the captain after attacking the crew cut man, firing 3 air bullets in rapid succession. With such a short distance between them, the captain had no chance to avoid them. The next moment, a shrill scream echoed, and a vibrant burst of electricity exploded from the captain's body, its brightness almost instantly blinding. This blast of electricity hit Fu Qian squarely. Fu Qian felt as if his body had instantly become liquid.
Containment failed.
So powerful! He was indeed carrying a heavy weapon on him. Back in the warehouse, Fu Qian didn't hesitate to take off his work badge from around his neck. Just because Sugao didn't have the time didn't mean he didn't. From the moment he asked her, he was determined to restart. So when the crew cut man wanted to act, he didn't hold back either. As for attacking the captain, it was simply common sense. In such a dangerous situation, the captain still hesitated to order a retreat. Fu Qian intuitively felt he must be relying on something. Those 3 bullets were just a handy test. Now it appeared that he hadn't been wrong in his judgment. The captain did indeed have some kind of super weapon on him that had instantly killed him with a flash of lightning. This is definitely good news, as it will surely come in handy when facing the boss later. Fu Qian would never underestimate anything worthy of being called a descendant of the evil god. When he got home, he immediately found some paper and a pen. After a long period of contemplation with his eyes closed, he began to write, drawing out the content he had just jotted down in his notebook again. Memorizing these meaningless characters by rote was incredibly difficult, especially ensuring that there were no errors or omissions. By the time he had written everything down, even Fu Qian, who ordinarily boasted of his exceptional memory, felt as though he was about to have a cerebral hemorrhage.
Finally, he knew how Wang Yaoxi's wife had died.
As he sighed, Fu Qian began the arduous task of decryption. Thanks to his wide range of hobbies, he was half an enthusiast in this field on a regular basis. But he wasn't a professional, and without Su Gao's hints, decoding this would have been akin to finding a needle in a haystack. Now that he had a direction, the workload had greatly diminished.
Even so, by the time he made any headway, several hours had passed. He deciphers a crucial part. Amidst the groveling multitude of followers, descending into the depths beneath the earth. A good while later, as Fu Qian looked at what he held in his hand, he puts his work badge back on. Entering containment scene. Current sand points, 27. The scene we're faced with now has exceeded our understanding, he declares. Let's stop here.
This time, when the group comes to the hall, Fu Qian doesn't even give the old man a chance to pull out his notes. He cuts off the argument and looks seriously at the captain.
Is there some deep space around here? He asks.
Deep space? The captain frowns, not understanding Fu Qian's intention. Amidst the multitude of followers, it descends into the depths beneath the earth. Fu Qian points forward, confident in his theory. This is part of a ritual. The 2 sentences I just recited are key steps in that ritual. An evil presence will descend into the depths of the earth. We need to find it as soon as possible. In truth, Fu Qian isn't certain those 2 sentences meant exactly that, but in order to get the others to follow his arrangements, he has to maintain a professional image. I'm not familiar enough with this place, so I need to confirm with you if there's such a place here, he asks.
This? Everyone exchanged glances.
Yes, says Su Gao, who until then had been silent. She points downwards with her hand. Beneath this building by several dozen meters lies a high-security underground vault. Lots of people store their valuables in there. You know that too? Fu Qian silently praises her. Such places are generally not cheap. Sister, you seem to be quite wealthy. Do you know how to get down there? He asks. I do. Su Gao was indeed a hero among women. She answers and instantly draws her sword with a swoosh. In the next instant, a flash of the blade splits the crowd of maggot people, cleaving a path through them. Su Gao takes the lead, striding forward. Of course, her fierce and peerless slash had inevitably disturbed the maggot people swarming all around. Amidst the shrill buzzing that made one's teeth ache, the maggot people begin to turn in their direction, moving towards them with a firm yet slow convergence. Luckily, they are indeed slow enough. By the time the group led by Su Gao has opened a descending escalator, the entrance was already surrounded by a dense mass of twisted bodies. As the escalator door closes, Fu Qian notices the old man quietly sighing. The steadfast brother must be hating himself right now, which was completely understandable. To be honest, he would have liked it if the group had just gone berserk and started an unstoppable rampage above, potentially racking up a considerable number of kills in the process. But doing such a thing would inevitably have taken up a lot of time and might have delayed the completion of the mission. Moreover, these 4 people clearly hadn't gone truly mad yet. The passage downwards is nearly pitch black, and after an indeterminable amount of time, they finally see some light ahead. Suddenly, an intense smell hits them. Get ready! Without needing the captain to give orders, everyone switches to combat readiness. It seems they have found the right place. Fu Qian follows behind Su Gao and sidesteps through a massive metal door. Inside, the scene is something of a restricted nature. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Restricted Scene 1. In the spacious hall, clothes are scattered all over the floor. Their owners have vanished. Only a group of pale, worm-like creatures remain, entangled like a knot of snakes, caressing each other. In the midst of the serpent ring, a woman, appearing to be a distinguished lady, is dressed in a deep red gown, elegantly bringing a teacup to her lips. Although the teacup is only half full, the lady still elegantly bites off a piece, chewing without showing her teeth, making a crunching sound. She seems utterly indifferent to the bloody holes punctured in her cheeks. Oh, the evil deeds I've done in my life to witness such a scene. Fu Qian sighs silently and turns to look at his 4 teammates. Judging by their expressions, they are also deeply shocked. Action! The team leader, true to his title, is almost the first among them to recover his composure. Glancing at the lady's swollen belly, he immediately issues the attack command. There's no way around it. Her appearance practically screams boss. In this situation, no one would believe she's an innocent bystander. The four-person squad shows excellent teamwork. At the captain's command, the crew cut man is almost the first to rush forward. The old man seems reluctant, but he follows closely behind. The crew cut man, now wearing a pair of oddly shaped gloves, throws a punch that faintly echoes with the sound of thunder. The old man has no weapon in hand, but a casual gesture from him explodes in a burst of flames. Under their swift attack, the lady doesn't even have a chance to dodge. She is instantly overwhelmed. At this moment, the seemingly strongest team leader does not charge forward, but stands still, taking something out of his bosom, targeting the lady from a distance. Su Gao, the woman with the porcelain face, unsheaths her blade, guarding by his side, preventing the distressed snakes from attacking him. This is the big move, decisive and resolute. Fu Qian knows what the team leader is planning. Having moved to the side earlier, he finally gets a clear view of what the team leader's ultimate weapon is. Indeed, it is something hard to describe as a weapon, about the length of a forearm with a fist-sized globe at the end, attached to a long and slender handle. The curious shape, coupled with the countless currents of electricity swirling around it at the moment, almost makes it seem like something broken off from a magnetic storm coil. This is the thing that had taken him down earlier, the captain's ultimate weapon. The captain is clearly catalyzing its power for some big strike. In just a few seconds, the accumulated force has far surpassed what had hit him before, the white-hot lightning making it almost unbearable to look at. Compared to this horrifying power, what had hit him before is nothing but a spark of electricity. However, just then, there is a complication on the side of the crew cut man and the old man. A sharp cry rings out, and Fu Qian feels his head shake even from a distance, his nose almost bleeding. Accompanied by a spray of blood, the crew cut man is sent flying, crashing heavily against the wall. Before he can adjust his posture, a blood-drenched figure has already rushed towards him, impaling him to the wall with a sharp bone blade, as if skewering lamb. Damn! The once gracefully poised lady still keeps her grace. One leg has lost all flesh, but it doesn't affect her from confidently standing there. 4 bone claws of different shapes pierce through the back of her gown, one of which has impaled the crew cut man. The moment this image enters his sight, Fu Qian feels his head hammered, his consciousness blurring.
Sand points deducted by 5.
Huh? Fu Qian is somewhat startled. Just catching a glimpse of this creature, and directly 5 sand points are lost? That's like 5 lives. The risk of this mission is too high. After a fatal strike, the lady does not linger. She pulls out the bone blade and flashes to the side, slicing the old man, who had just gotten up, and the floor beneath him, in 2.
The movements in the blink of an eye are so swift, her figure seems weightless.
A sudden, explosive rebuke comes from the side, and by then, the captain has finally completed the guidance. A straight column of electricity, composed of innumerable bolts, instantly engulfs both the noblewoman and the old man's corpse on the ground.
Lightning railgun? Watching the endless stream of lightning beams, Fu Qian finally understands the true power of the captain's ultimate weapon.
However, under this world-shattering attack, countless black threads rapidly weave into a cocoon in front of the noblewoman, blocking the lightning beams for a sliver of time. Thanks to this slight impediment, the noblewoman's ghostly figure escapes the range of the lightning bolts. With a single flash, she is directly in front of the captain. A much sharper wailing sound arises again, causing the captain's body to tremble. Blood flows from both his nose and mouth, and he stiffens on the spot.
Under the attack of the lightning railgun, one of the 4 bone blades had already vaporized and vanished, but the remaining 3 simultaneously penetrate the captain's body, lifting him into the air. The captain's ultimate weapon was powerful indeed, but it was to no avail, since the opponent had maxed out her evasion.
The baby's cries grow louder. Fu Qian, watching the noblewoman who was no longer in human form, fires a succession of air bullets. The transformed noblewoman doesn't even dodge. After a series of crisp sounds of bones clicking, her body doesn't bear a single mark.
Indeed, his own means of attack can almost never break through her defenses. Evil God's offspring has arrived. Containment failed.
At that moment, an alert sounds in his ear, and the scene before his eyes quickly blurs. The last thing Fu Qian sees is Su Gao leaping up high and throwing a blade of light at the noblewoman.
Phew! Back in the storeroom, Fu Qian takes a deep breath and vaguely feels his head is still aching. He hadn't expected to fail like this.
Strictly speaking, there wasn't much of a problem with the squad's tactical arrangement just now.
Straight to the point without any fuss. Some team members distracted, providing opportunity for the strongest weapon to strike. It seemed logical enough.
One could only say that the attempted distraction by the two crew-cut men had unexpectedly alerted the evil god's offspring, and then its mother was overwhelmingly powerful.
After transforming, the woman's speed was too fast, plus that strange shield, resulted in the captain's ultimate weapon completely missed its intended target. Decisiveness mistaken for rush. Would you like to spend 1 sand point to attempt containment again?
After summarizing the situation, Qian decisively presses his hand to the mist gate that has appeared. Yes, he already has a new idea.
Once again, he returns to the grand hall that broadened his horizons. Prepare for action. Hold on. Just as the captain is about to give orders, Qian directly stops him. If you want the thing in your arms to be of any use, it's best not to startle her. And these two should stay put as well.
What right do you have to give orders? The two crew-cut men immediately become furious. How could he possibly know? The captain is taken aback when his greatest secret is so unexpectedly revealed, and he holds back his subordinates with his hand. Putting aside how the other man knew, Qian's performance all along has convinced him that this young man would not act without aim.
Seeing the captain's cooperative response, Qian satisfactorily nods at him. Carefully avoiding the stripy objects and unidentified liquids on the floor, he sits down opposite the noblewoman.
Hello there, beautiful. Chapter 11. Chapter 11. The Vitality of the Evil God. 1.
Hello there, young man. Facing Qian's sudden flirtation, the elegant lady is clearly taken aback before letting out a tittering laugh. Her eyes have a strange haziness to them, resembling a creeping beast.
Since the moment the 5 of them entered, they have been under the watch of such predator-like gaze. Accompanied by the gurgling of bloody saliva in her mouth, Qian has no doubt she could pounce at any moment to take a bite out of someone.
Fortunately, after responding to Qian, her eyes become slightly clearer, as if she remembers her human identity. Still able to hold a conversation, there's a chance. Apparently, she hasn't completely lost her sanity. Qian judges correctly, and growing more interested, decides to continue with his plan to draw attention. Madam, you're so beautiful. Interested in some intimate contact? Worried that boring, flirtatious words wouldn't catch her attention, he goes straight to the point. He. The beautiful woman covers her mouth with her hand, her eyes slowly rolling as she lets out a series of delicate laughs. Your question is quite rude, but it's lively and you look quite delectable. But are you sure you will still like it, like this? The lady leans back slightly, exposing her swollen belly, gently caressing it with one hand, her gaze soft. Qian's expression remains unchanged. No problem, I like children. Really? That's wonderful. The beautiful woman's smile grows increasingly syrupy. I like them too, especially young children.
Is this guy refusing to let us take action and going off to flirt instead, with some evil entity spouting from his mouth? The 4 people in the distance are stunned. Their sanity and dignity are being violently assailed by what they see.
In this short while, the drips of blood that have fallen on the lady's face have reddened a patch on her chest. Amidst the contrast of red and white, she appears even more seductively demonic. However, Qian remains oblivious to this, his eyes brimming with affection and his language vulgar and distasteful. This child mustn't be allowed to remain. Witnessing this scene, the crew-cut man can't help murmuring to himself, feeling his killing arm getting restless. At such a young age, he is already this perverted. Given time, he'd surely become a scourge.
This guy obviously came prepared, holding much information they are unaware of.
By contrast, the captain is a bit more mature, understanding that Qian is buying time for them, although he can't help but feel agitated. However agitated he is, the captain still promptly pulls out his ultimate weapon.
Cover me, he whispers a shout, aiming at the target and begins to gather power. With Qian's distraction present, locking on the target couldn't be easier. The lady is even led to turn her back towards them.
If they couldn't handle this, they might as well just bash their head in and be done with it. As streaks of lightning frantically converge and flicker, the captain becomes increasingly tense as well. Finally, under the protection of his 3 comrades, the electricity in the captain's hand swells to its limit. The next moment, an endless surge of lightning completely envelops the lady. Just across the table, Qian feels like he is going blind from that instant flash. The lady's body, like straw in a tempest, crumbles without a doubt upon contact. From skin to bone, turned to ash and annihilated. And from where her belly was, a shadowy figure begins to struggle fiercely. Barriers appear and burst instantaneously, and finally the shadow silently explodes into a cloud of black mist, slowly dissipating.
Is she dead? The resplendent lightning railgun ceases its fury. All 4 night watchmen let out a sigh of relief. The captain has already reached his limit, nearly collapsing to the ground.
It is evident that controlling this thing takes a considerable toll on his strength.
Check the surroundings. Barely standing up, the captain has only spoken half his words when a hand pierces through his chest. Everyone freezes on the spot, watching in disbelief as the old man stands behind the captain with a strange smile.
The next moment, the withered hand reveals bone blades that completely extinguish the captain's life force. The godson's descent, containment failure. This thing doesn't even die? Upon returning to the warehouse, Qian acutely realizes the difficulty of contending with an evil god. After the lady had been annihilated, he had not received the mission completion prompt, which had made him suspicious then.
Unfortunately, the old man was too quick. Looking at it now, could it be that even if the host body for the descent was destroyed, the entity could still possess and take over another's body to complete its descent?
Impossible. If it truly were immortal and could simply possess anyone, this entity could have just slaughtered everyone one by one. Why then would it have such a strong reaction to the lightning railgun? But the old man was indeed possessed.
Was there something different about it?
The ritual notebook. Qian's eyes light up. He thinks of something. He remembers the old man saying he found the notebook nearby, and the ritual cipher also came from it.
In a sense, it is too normal for the notebook to be connected with a brother who wanted to descend. Considering that the old man always kept it close, completing the embodiment through it is indeed possible.
But if that were the case, the situation becomes even more complex. San, points decreased by 1, entering containment scene.
Qian, with a frown, chooses to enter once again. Still in his avatar of an expert, he guides everyone underground, then moves to flirt with the girls, creating an opportunity for the captain to unleash his power.
Only this time, after the captain has initiated the attack, Qian does not stay to watch the evil god's obliteration, but retreats immediately.
The moment the black shadow struggles and dissipates in the lightning, Qian fires 5 air bullets at the captain's weapon without hesitation. In the eyes of the astonished crowd, the ongoing lightning reacts instantly. After a violent tremble, the lightning explodes from its source, and blue-white sparks envelop the entire hall in an instant. Under the terrible impact, Qian is inevitably thrown back.
Moments later, as the lightning recedes, Qian climbs up from the ground and sees several people also lying there. The old man, who is closest and weakest, has been completely charred. The captain and the man with the cropped haircut are also on their last breath. The only one standing is the porcelain-like woman, Sugao. At that moment, leaning on her knife, she looks at him with complex eyes.
Her whole body is in a state of glass-like fissures, as if she could shatter at any moment. It is a brutal sight.
It's not over yet? Qian, equally battered, still hasn't received the containment success prompt. Narrowing his eyes and scanning the area, Qian notices that not far from the old man's corpse, a notebook shines brilliantly, with pages flipping on their own.
It fell out?
Qian's heart stirs, and as he watches the crimson bloodlight on the notebook that appears to come alive, he grabs it in his hand. The next moment, he feels pain in his palm.
Almost instantly, a chill and shadowy presence envelops him. Qian feels his mind swiftly being filled with an insatiable lust for killing, and his rationality rapidly dissipates. As expected, this thing wants to possess him through the notebook.
The evil god surely has formidable vitality. While Qian marvels, he lifts his right hand. Caressing under his ribcage, he finds a wound.
Chapter 12. Chapter 12, Special Rewards 1.
Qian looks up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, taking a long breath. That skill he has never had the chance to use. It's called Visceral Crit.
This skill seizes the opportunity to pass through the wound and directly damage the opponent's viscera, dealing devastating damage.
Without any hesitation, he extends his hand into the wound beneath the ribcage. The warm touch comes through, his 5 fingers like bloodthirsty snakes, rapidly twisting and elongating. Countless tiny tentacles grow wildly, penetrating deep into the flesh and fusing tightly together.
Die for me.
His right hand suddenly clenches, and the visceral critical strike is unleashed.
Amidst a sky of bloodlight splattering, Qian feels as if his flesh and soul are being hollowed out by this strike. Sand points decreased by 1. Sand points decreased by 1. Sand points decreased by 1.
A series of fine whimpers fills his brain, tearing at his consciousness.
A torrent of warnings about the decrease in sand points crazily flashes, taking away 7 points before stopping. The whimpering also disappears.
Whew, that must really be the end of it, Fuqian exhales.
Lifting his head, in the shocked and perplexed gazes of the captain and Su Gao, Fuqian arches his eyebrows and stands with his hands behind his back, exuding the aura of a master. Containment conditions met. Number 2133, successfully contained. The notification of successful containment comes through, and the scene in front of him rapidly dissipates, returning Fuqian to the warehouse. Mission complete. Evaluation. God-blocking demise. Congratulations! You not only successfully thwarted the advent of the evil god's offspring, but even inflicted irreparable damage on it yourself. This is an incredible feat.
You have taught divine beings a lesson with your mortal body. The title of a mad yet calm thug is rightfully yours. This incident caused severe casualties, leading to the fall of a Night Watchman member, and has drawn high attention within the Night Watchman, with relevant information being strictly classified.
Enemies slain. Godson. Maggot people 22. Rewards. Sand points plus 31. Inspiration plus 5. Special kill reward. Thug. Would you like to replay the event recap?
It's finally over. In the warehouse, the previous anomalies have already disappeared. As Fuqian lets out a sigh of relief, his first instinct is to reach out and feel his stomach. That visceral crit really left quite the impression.
After confirming all his internal parts are still there, Fuqian finally begins to inspect his rewards. God-blocking demise. This evaluation is quite something, mainly stemming from his feat of deicide, probably. As for the kills, it clearly includes the count of maggot people.
Considering the increase in sand points, it seems that his earlier spree of racking up kills inside did pay off. The losses in sand points this time were quite severe, so any extra supplement is welcome. With this reward, he now has 43 sand points.
Inspiration goes up by another 5. Who knows what he will see next time?
However, beyond these, the main reward is only a single item. Isn't that somewhat unreasonable? Fuqian furrows his brow, flipping to a special kill reward.
A transcendent form, a consumable. Using it will upgrade you to this form, and the process is irreversible. A robust body, swift speed, allowing you to completely break free from human limitations, altering the very essence of life. Flesh is frail, flesh ascends.
This, Fuqian is rarely stupefied for a moment. Transcendent form. The name alone makes it hard not to think of the transcendence. Recalling his 4 Night Watchman teammates from before, Fuqian has a deep impression of Su Gao's terrifying blade light.
That speed and killing power are not something any swordsmanship master could describe. It is a power unique to transcendence.
If he isn't misunderstanding, could this item transform him to be like them? Without doing anything, just use it and become a superhuman? Are such good things really possible? But still, he needs to be cautious. After all, the process is irreversible.
Fuqian 托着的签, hesitating for perhaps 2 seconds. Warning, the item will disappear after use. Do you confirm to use it?
Confirm. This kind of opportunity is impossible to give up. After all, having worked so hard for so long, wouldn't it be a waste not to use it now? As Fuqian confirms, a warm current surges into his body. The next moment, it seems as if all the blood in his body is boiling. His heart, like an overclocked motor, starts to beat furiously, accompanied by all his muscles rapidly contracting and expanding. After a while, Fuqian opens his eyes. His heartbeat has returned to normal, and his body is filled with a power he has never felt before.
Fuqian tries clenching his fist and can feel the muscles on his arm twined like steel wires. He is no longer an ordinary person, and the feeling deep in his heart makes Fuqian acutely aware of this fact.
What a great item. Indeed, a reward worthy of slaying a god. The chances of succeeding in future missions have just increased a lot. Work for the day is complete. Thank you for your efforts. You may now leave the warehouse. See you tomorrow. As the reminder sounds, Fuqian takes off his work badge. I'm really quite exhausted. The work today has been tougher than imagined and has taken quite a toll on him mentally. The scenery changes, and he is back in the familiar confines of his home. Fuqian shakes his head and quickly realizes he hasn't eaten all day. Hesitating over whether to cook some simple noodles or order takeaway as a treat, Fuqian suddenly feels a bit uncomfortable. He looks down and finds that his normally well-fitting clothes are now bursting at the seams, the buttons as if they are about to give way. Realizing something, Fuqian rushes into the bathroom. The person in the mirror is both familiar and strange. His body, formerly somewhat lean, now seems inflated like a balloon.
Smooth lines, a perfect physique, every muscle sharply defined.
His every move is filled with explosive power. The reward obtained from the scene could actually be brought out. What kind of job had he taken on exactly?
Fu Qian washes his face, trying to calm himself down. Though his title is thug, luckily he hasn't grown a scruffy beard, and his skin even seems finer and smoother now. Is this what's trendy now? A thug in a suit.
Exiting the bathroom, Fu Qian thinks of something and points his finger towards a water bottle on the table. Pop! Water splashes everywhere. The bottle is punctured by an invisible air bullet, spilling water all over the table. All is silent.
What would you do if you suddenly weren't human anymore? Fu Qian has never really thought about this question before. If the 30,000 a day that previously kept him from being dirt poor altered his perception of money, then becoming a thug has changed his concept of life itself.
This change is so significant that it takes him the time it takes to eat a burger to digest this reality. Taking a big gulp of Coke, Fu Qian watches the men and women inside McDonald's, full of emotion. This is his habit, to eat junk food after every big bout of work. It is a satisfaction filled with indulgence and decadence, feeling fantastic. From childhood, Fu Qian has always been someone who didn't conform to norms. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up in such a poor and distressed state. But no matter what, the pressure of survival was still there, and he'd had to scurry around for a living. Now that suddenly the pressure to survive is gone, and he might not even be human anymore when you really think about it, is the feeling of losing your life's goals overnight a joyful one? Yes, it is absolutely thrilling. Fu Qian answers himself without hesitation. Although he is a freelancer, he has nothing in common with those melancholic, artistic youths. He is a pragmatic person and dislikes such pretentious thinking. Given a million chances, he would give the same answer every time. Nothing is more valuable than having more choices. As he is contemplating life, his phone on the table suddenly rings. Chapter 13. Chapter 13. Shocking Young Master Qian. 1. Chapter 13. Shocking Young Master Qian. 1. Upon seeing the incoming call number, Fu Qian cheerfully answers. Are you not at home? The person on the other end of the phone obviously sounds a bit puzzled. I'm eating downstairs. Rare sight. You actually went out to eat. Mr. Qian's words are tinged with irony. You're not standing at my door, are you? What do you think? Hurry up and roll back here. I went back home over the weekend and brought you some local products. Forget it. I'll come down to find you. I've got things to do later. I'll just leave the stuff at your doorstep. Fu Qian couldn't have asked for more and immediately agrees before hanging up the phone. As a seasoned homebody, this brother Qin Mingze is one of the few friends Fu Qian has. He is several years older than Fu Qian and can be called a young talent. He comes from a well-off family, is a sportsman, a social butterfly, fluent in 5 languages, and graduated from a prestigious university at a young age. Now he is interning at a large law firm, aspiring to become a professional litigant. Such a person, by all accounts, should have nothing to do with Fu Qian, yet they somehow became friends. In his words, without a professional keeping an eye on you, you definitely become a societal hazard, and seeing you gives me an inexplicable sense of mission. 5 minutes later, a tall figure pushes open the door of McDonald's and strides towards Fu Qian. Can't you eat something healthier for once when you go out? Holy shit! Qin Mingze, dressed in suit and shoes, stops 2 steps away from Fu Qian. He rubs his eyes in disbelief. What the hell happened to you? Oh, I've been working out recently. Facing Qin Mingze's baffled amazement, Fu Qian has his answer ready and wears an innocent face. He knows the changes in his body are somewhat exaggerated. He is not short to begin with, but rather thin, and standing in front of Qin Mingze, he used to look like a twig. But after his transformation into a thug, although still not as big as Qin Mingze, he is a completely different person with a robust sense of strength all over his body. You work out? And you got fit so fast. How long has it been since we saw each other? Qin Mingze, now sitting down, still can't believe the reality before him. Each to their own skill, Fu Qian continues to bullshit. But weren't you about to go bankrupt? That's why I need to invest in myself even more. I'm planning to change tracks. Becoming a kept man has officially been added to my career plan. Right up until he leaves, Qin Mingze is still shaking his head in shock, looking at Fu Qian's physique. Indeed, everyone has their own talents. I don't know how much suffering I'd have to endure to get like this. I'd rather trade it for 3 languages. You've got the natural makings of a kept man. I'll introduce you to some wealthy women in a few days. Don't forget me when you're living the good life. Will do. I'll never forget your kindness. After a shocked young Master Qian leaves, Fu Qian casually returns home, only to find 2 large cardboard boxes waiting at his doorstep. Really afraid I'd starve to death, huh?
Fu Qian blinks and carries the boxes into his house. The next day, the system messages appear. Work begins today. Warning, containment breach. Name, cocoon room. Code 2292. Today's work content has been updated. Enter the containment scene of 2292. Complete recontainment.
Ha! The familiar style, the familiar scent. This warehouse just isn't comfortable without a breach each day. When Fu Qian enters the warehouse, he unsurprisingly encounters another breach incident. This time, the anomaly in the warehouse is even stranger. Shadows of strange cocoons roam the air, each composed of white and black threads.
The cocoons flicker in and out of sight, occasionally twisting as if something inside wants to come to life.
Entering containment scene of 2-292. 1%. 3%. 10%. 50%. 98%. 100. Loading complete.
Emerging from the cocoon is a painful process, and humanity's thirst for power is endless. However, every step in exploring transcendental powers is filled with danger. Undeveloped younglings are exceedingly fragile, and danger could come from anywhere.
Condition for containment success. Ensure Wen Li successfully advances to the 6th phase.
Yes. The moment the containment condition appears, Fu Qian takes a sharp breath. Putting aside who Wen Li is, this turns out to be a protection mission. As everyone knows, almost all games include protection, escort, and rescue missions. They are always the most troublesome. They are also Fu Qian's least favorite. Just thinking about those NPCs who like to run around courting death makes Fu Qian seriously consider throwing in the towel. The familiar skill interface appears again. Choose the skills you wish to carry. Fu Qian checks and notices that Thug is not an option this time. It seems that it has fully integrated with him and is no longer considered an additional skill. Without any hesitation, Fu Qian takes all his skills with him. Skills: Air Bullet, Visceral Critical Strike, Cat School, Weapon, none.
The scene blurs before him in the next moment, signaling a change of environment. Fu Qian immediately braces for combat. He can't help it. His previous encounters have left a deep impression. Each time he arrives, the situation is extremely perilous.
However, this time it vastly exceeds his expectations. Blue skies and clear waters, grass and shady trees, a rare and beautiful scenery unfolds before his eyes. Underfoot lies a massive circular plaza, constructed entirely of stones similar to white marble. Looking ahead, a row of grand and imposing white villas comes into view, lavishly decorated without being ostentatious, exuding an air of exceptional dignity. In front of the villas, several servants in uniform busy themselves. This doesn't seem right. Fu Qian has an ominous premonition. Setting aside the fact that it is completely different from the previous scenarios, he finds it hard to relate this setting to the chrysalis illusion in the warehouse.
When things are out of the norm, there must be demons at work. He has to proceed with caution. Don't look around. At that moment, someone behind him chides in a low voice.
Fu Qian turns to see an enormous figure. The individual is a burly man, nearly 2 meters tall, with rugged features and eyes as large as cowbells. Bulging muscles, a sturdy body, all tightly enclosed in a black uniform. He is a veritable Schwarzenegger plus. He claps Fu Qian on the shoulder, with an arm thicker than Fu Qian's waist, his expression grave.
The Win family has paid a fortune for our services. We must exhibit professionalism. In the past month, they have experienced 2 assassination attempts, including one by a transcendent. We must not take this lightly.
Fu Qian looks down at himself, dressed in a uniform identical to the other man's. So this time he is hired as a bodyguard. The Wen family? The same Wen family mentioned in Wen Li's introduction? Fu Qian blinks. How did the Wen family get tangled up with a transcendent? Isn't this mission too dangerous? How would I know? Part of the big sum the employer paid us is to keep us from asking too many questions. Schwarzenegger glares at him. But I've done some snooping on the side. On the surface, the Wen family appears to be just ordinary tycoons, but in fact, Miss Wen of the Wen family is a genuine transcendent. It is said that she possesses an extremely rare mental type ability, and the Wen family had kept it secret and nurtured her quietly. Only recently, word got out that Wen Li is likely to advance to the 6th phase. If she indeed succeeds, the Wen family will leap into the ranks of the real elite. Unfortunately, not everyone is happy to see this outcome, and the Wen family has offended many. Thus, there have been quite a few individuals causing trouble. So that is the situation. Fu Qian gains a deeper understanding of the mission. Schwarzenegger being in this line of work means the information is probably reliable.
In that case, his mission this time is to ensure Miss Wen of the Wen family successfully advances. A 6th phase transcendent. How does that level compare to his own, he wonders.
Of course, what he finds even more puzzling is that, at the end of the day, it's just about a transcendence promotion. How could that possibly be related to the containment item in the warehouse?
Chapter 14. Our slacking off is justified.
Despite the confusion, the task still has to be done. Just as Fu Qian is about to learn more from Schwarzenegger, the villa doors fling open.
A man in a butler's uniform, leading a group of men and women, strides straight toward them.
Thank you for your hard work, Captain Gu, he says, bowing politely to Fu Qian and Schwarzenegger. The butler's smile is bright, his tone businesslike, yet clearly pleased to receive the respect. At that moment, a car roars in from the distance. The butler's smile vanishes. He hurries to meet it, knowing the arrival cannot be merely a courtesy. The neatly lined-up butlers suggest the passenger holds extraordinary status.
The car barely slows as it crosses the plaza, pulling up abruptly in front of the butlers. The door swings open and several people pour out. Leading them is a young man in his 20s. Good-looking, hair neatly combed, dressed in a white suit and white shoes, hair slicked with gel. He grins, gesturing to his companions.
"I've brought reinforcements. Where's my sister Wen Li?"
he asks, his voice light. 3 others accompany him, 2 men and 1 woman, all youthful except for a middle-aged man. The butler bows deeper, his reverence multiplied 100-fold.
"Young Master Ye, good to see you. The young miss is resting inside," the butler replies.
Fu Quan squints. The presence of these few reminds him of the night watchmen he once encountered, beings whose power far exceeds ordinary mortals. He wonders whether his role as a bodyguard is now reduced to taking bullets, while these are the real guards.
Perhaps the task will be completed without his direct involvement, but Fu Qian, ever pessimistic from past experience, doubts it will be that simple.
Schwarzenegger inhales sharply, his voice dropping.
4 transcendents, he whispers. The rumors are true. The Wen family's trouble is huge. No wonder they spend so much hiring people. Remember what I said before we arrived. Be smart.
We're paid to work, but if the opponent is a transcendent, the priority is to sound the alarm, not rush in foolishly. They won't bet everything on us. At most, we're cannon fodder. Besides these few, there may be night watchmen around.
Fu Qian nods. Captain Gu's capabilities are average, but his experience and judgment are clear. He has no intention of letting his subordinates die in vain. Yet Fu Qian reminds himself that transcendents have keen hearing.
Just as Fu Qian is about to follow the butler inside, young Master Ye stops, turns his head slowly, and fixes a mocking smile on Fu Qian.
"Is this the bodyguard you hired?"
"Why such a pretty boy?" he taunts, his gaze sweeping the area before landing on Fu Qian.
The pressure shifts to Captain Gu. Realizing something is amiss, he links it to his earlier warning, his breath catching. Young Master Yi's smile deepens.
"This elite team member was brought by Captain Gu," he says coldly. "How elite can he be? Show me a demonstration." Captain Gu looks to Schwarzenegger Gu, his face paling slightly. He knows from years in the underworld that young Master Ye is no ordinary rich second-generation playboy. Clashing with a transcendent would be unwise for his mortal men.
Demonstrating strength to reassure the employer is part of the job description, right? Young Master Ye presses. Fu Qian, fed up, steps forward. "Show us whatever you're good at then," he says.
Young Master Ye smiles contentedly. There are too many abilities to count, and it's not convenient to show them all here. He then pulls a female companion forward. "Since you can't decide what to showcase, why not spar with our little girl?" he suggests, smirking. "Now you can't say I bullied you, right?" The girl steps forward. She's young, her hair dyed in red and blue stripes, heavy eyeshadow, a revealing, clownish dress. She tosses a flirtatious glance at Fu Qian. "Handsome, go easy on me," she purrs. "Don't worry, special talents are my thing," Fu Qian replies. She laughs, trembling, and dramatically pats her chest. With a flick, her fingers extend, revealing 2 shiny blades. Chapter 15. Chapter 15. Passive Go Slow. This little girl is quite vicious.
Fu Qian looks expressionlessly at the woman who is transformed into a wolverine. To deal with an ordinary bodyguard, she even brought out this kind of thing.
Captain Gu beside him has already changed color abruptly and stealthily makes a hand signal, telling him to concede as quickly as possible when the time comes. Fu Qian waves his hand, indicating not to worry. "These blades look intimidating, but they are not long enough. Unless they hit a vital spot, they couldn't cause much damage. At most, a skin laceration or flesh wound."
Generally speaking, those who like to play with such flashy things often aren't that strong in ability.
At this time, the butler has already very thoughtfully arranged for people to clear the surroundings, cleaning up an open space. He doesn't necessarily enjoy this kind of farce, but he isn't going to stop it now that things have developed to this point.
Don't blink, big brother. I'm about to start. The little wolf girl smiles charmingly and calls out in a soft voice. She sticks out her bright red tongue and licks the blade on her fingertip.
The next moment, she transforms into a shadow and rushes in front of Fu Qian in an instant, swinging her hand towards his face. It won't do. Confronted with this malicious strike, Fu Qian just frowns. Am I too strong, or is she too weak? There's absolutely none of that sensation of facing Miss Win's terrifying blade light. Perhaps in the eyes of others, this woman moves as fast as lightning, unstoppable.
But Fu Qian doesn't even move his lower body. He simply turns his face and dodges the strike. More than that, he even turns his head back at the fastest speed.
If someone's eyesight weren't good, they might think that the little wolf girl had missed.
You've got some skills. The woman swiftly steps back and sizes him up, doubt and surprise in her gaze. Unfortunately, Fu Qian doesn't pay her any attention, and instead glances over at young Master Ye's side. The middle-aged man who had gotten out of the car with him seems obviously stronger than the others to Fu Qian. If that man made a move, it would probably be more meaningful than the little wolf girl's attempts.
At this moment, the latter has a serious expression, squinting and staring at him intently. To get him to take action, it might require a bit of provocation.
Come on again. The little wolf girl clenches her teeth. Not sure if it is rage fueled by feeling looked down upon, but this time her speed is even faster than before, with her blade-tipped fingers producing a sharp whistling sound.
However, the next moment, the little wolf girl feels a pain in her wrist and is shocked to find her arm has been grabbed by the target with one hand. Even though her target is within an arm's reach, she can't continue her attack. Turns out I've become this strong, Fu Qian, holding her wrist, muses internally. Which tier of transcendent are you?
8th. Phase. Who on earth are you? Not understanding why he is asking this, even the not-so-smart little wolf girl realizes she has badly misjudged the situation. How could this guy possibly be just an ordinary bodyguard?
8th phase? Your senior brother is much stronger than you. Fu Qian snorts. She's actually at the 8th phase? It feels like I could handle 10 of her with no problem.
The thug form seems to be more powerful than I thought. As for the little wolf girl with the twisted expression, Fu Qian certainly has no sense of pity. She hadn't been polite at all in her approach.
She pulled out her claws to deal with an ordinary person, aiming each move at his face. It is clear that she is keenly trying to anticipate young Master Ye's desires, perhaps aiming to disfigure him.
How malicious of you. You just destroyed a child's dreams.
Fu Qian takes a breath and tightens his grip. The little wolf girl screams in agony as the blades fall from her hands to the ground. Before her scream ends, a wild force hits her side, sending her flying like a cannonball.
Amidst a loud crash, the little wolf girl slams into the car they had arrived in, struggling 3 times without managing to get up.
Not bad, right? After kicking his opponent away, Fu Qian turns back. Young Master Ye's face is a marvelous sight at this moment, his eyes glued to Fu Qian's leg that had just kicked someone.
Clearly, even he couldn't have managed such a dashing kick. Not just him, Captain Gu's eyeballs are about to fall to the ground. Be careful. The middle-aged man beside young Master Ye moves forward with a guarded face, shielding him behind his body.
Good. Seeing the middle-aged man about to make a move, Fu Qian is not alarmed, but rather elated. The woman just now was really not enough of a challenge. What's that old saying? If you're seeking thrills, then go all the way.
Since they had started to fight, with these people's approach, making peace is out of the question, so he might as well knock them all down as fast as possible.
Just as a big fight is about to erupt, a prompt suddenly rings in his ears.
When Li has died, containment failed. Evaluation, negative. Dereliction of duty. Punishment, SAN points decrease by 5. Current SAN points are 37.
Are you freaking kidding me? Fu Qian, teleported back to the warehouse, is quite shocked. I knew this mission wouldn't be so simple, but to die just like this? Without any noise? And certainly as a transcendent of no low level, within the heavily guarded Win family mansion, she just died without a sound?
It seems his premonition is not wrong. This mission is far more difficult than he had imagined, and to think it considered him negligent, reducing his SAN points by 5 directly, that is equivalent to 5 lives, utterly infuriating.
Fu Qian is incredibly saddened in that moment, the joy of leveling up completely washed away. He decides to put all the blame on young Master Ye and his band of hooligans.
Instead of joining the fray again immediately,
Fu Qian decisively chooses to replay the process that had just occurred. Event replay. 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Wen Li died. Mission failed. Consumed 1 sand point, attempting containment again.
After confirming the time of Wen Li's death, Fu Qian touches the mist gate. The Wen family mansion appears once more. This time, without waiting for Captain Gu to give any admonishment, Fu Qian takes the initiative to approach him with his question.
I heard Miss Wen is a genius transcendent, currently at least at the 7th phase. Does she really need our protection?
Boy, you're quite informed. Captain Gu looks at Fu Qian with surprise.
I just heard it through the grapevine. It's said that her abilities are of the psychic type, and before ascending to the middle tier, her physical constitution is very fragile, barely better than an ordinary person.
This is also why so many assassins have recently appeared, all wanting to snuff her out in the cradle, because once she upgrades, she'll be much more difficult to deal with. This is indeed an explanation. Captain Gu's gossiping abilities are not bad.
Fu Qian looks up to see the butler walking out of the villa, and soon young Master Ye's car will arrive. The next step is to figure out how Miss Wen had died.
According to the way things had unfolded just then, Miss Wen would die in 5 minutes and 12 seconds. He has at most 5 minutes now, but how to confirm it?
After the previous physical exchange, Fu Qian has a full understanding of his own combat capabilities.
Around the square are a dozen tall white pillars, all carved out of solid stone. Seeing young Master Ye's car approaching, Fu Qian quietly nears one of the pillars and fiercely kicks the base of it.
Half a minute later, accompanied by a muffled sound, the pillar crashes to the ground with a loud thud. Screams erupt, and the piercing alarm rings out instantly.
Young Master Ye's car hasn't even come to a complete stop when 4 people burst out of it like lightning. The welcoming team behind the butler instantly descends into chaos.
Seizing the chaos, Fu Qian blends into the stream of people and sneaks into the villa. Chapter 16. Chapter 16. Unpreventable. 3 minutes left. Compared to the outside, the interior decoration of the villa is even more sumptuous. Inside, there is also a large group of bodyguards in matching suits who have already received the signal and are now quickly surging outwards.
Fu Qian's appearance here undoubtedly leaves the group bewildered. Without a word, Fu Qian moves swiftly through the crowd, triggering countless alarms along the way. Ignoring calls from others, when someone tries to stop him, he deftly dodges them.
The villa instantly descends into chaos.
The piercing sound of the alarms grows more intense. Fu Qian clearly notices a large number of bodyguards gathering at the door of a certain room. 1 minute left. It must be here. The bodyguards are so nervous about this area. The likelihood that Miss Wen is here is high.
Fu Qian strides forward, casually picking up a stone table and hurling it out. Amidst the whistling sound, the table turns into a frisbee, its terrifying momentum forcing the bodyguards to retreat, creating a path forcefully cleared in front.
Fu Qian follows closely, without hesitation, kicking the door open. There are 2 women in the room. One of them in her early 20s, with a pretty face and painted brows, has the demeanor of a lady from a reputable family.
At that moment, she is sitting at a table, holding a bowl of soup, probably about to drink it. It is very likely Wen Li. Fu Qian does not hesitate to fire an air bullet. Although it is still uncertain how she is going to die, one thing is certain, the action she is doing will lead to her death. So stop right there.
After many days of practice, Fu Qian's accuracy has greatly improved. The air bullet blows the bowl in the woman's hand to fragments, and amid shrieks, the steaming soup instantly drenches her, soaking her through. At this moment, footsteps sound from behind, and a group of people rushes in, surrounding Fu Qian. Who are you? Who sent you? The one leading the charge, a middle-aged man, bears a slight resemblance to the soup-drinking woman. His face is ashen, and his eyes bore into Fu Qian as if he wants to devour him.
51 seconds, 52 seconds, 53 seconds.
Fu Qian ignores him, silently counting. Until 52 seconds past 5 minutes, the failure prompt for the mission does not appear. The soup-drinking woman is standing there just fine, protected by a circle of bodyguards.
Good. Fu Qian is very satisfied with this outcome and turns to glance at the middle-aged man. And you are?
You don't know me? The middle-aged man laughs furiously, staring intently at Fu Qian. I am Wen Shu Xian. I'll ask you one last time. Who are you? Who sent you?
Wen Shu Xian. I don't know him.
Now that the other party has introduced himself, Fu Qian nods and points to Captain Gu behind the cloud. Fu Qian, an elite team member of Captain Gu's team. He is the one who sent me. Damn it. Schwarzenegger Gu, who is already doubting his life, nearly falls to the ground when he hears Fu Qian's words. And then Fu Qian changes the subject and points at the soup-drinking woman. I just saved your daughter's life. Huh?
Wen Shuxian is originally furious and about to order the two men to be captured, but he pauses, somewhat stunned by Fu Qian's words.
What do you mean? Hard to understand? If you're confused, you can ask the esteemed lady behind your precious daughter. Fu Qian points at the young woman dressed as a maid behind Wen Li. He is now 80% sure that there is something wrong with this woman. Me? The young maid, noticing everyone's gaze turn toward her, is momentarily flustered. I don't understand what's happening. I haven't done anything. Seeing the other party desperately denying it, Fu Qian just watches without speaking.
Wen Shuxian seems to sense that something is amiss as well, looking thoughtfully at the broken bowl on the ground. Then, with a signal from his eyes, two people quickly restrain the maid, while someone else collects the remnants of the soup from the broken bowl. The results come back quickly. It's really poisoned. Wen Shuxian looks at the young maid, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Fang Ting, my Wen family has treated you well. Why did you do this? I really didn't know. The maid named Fang Ting has a stunned look in her eyes as she fervently shakes her head in denial. You cooked the soup for Wen Li, and you say you didn't know? Tell me, who sent you? I truly didn't.
Watching the drama unfold before him, Fu Qian pays attention to Wen Li, the protagonist of the incident. The recently escaped genius's complexion is a bit pale, but she remains surprisingly calm, seemingly numb to such occurrences.
On the other side, Fang Ting keeps repeating, I don't know, and Wen Shuxian appears to have reached the limits of his patience. After asking a couple more times, he orders his men to drag Fang Ting away, presumably to be harshly interrogated. Just then, Fang Ting's pleas for innocence abruptly stop, and she stands still on the spot. After a few seconds of silence, she lets out a shrill scream from her mouth, the sound unspeakably crazed. The next moment, as if she is possessed by divine strength, she forcefully breaks free from two bodyguards, hugs the still dazed Wen Li, and bares her ghastly white teeth to bite down.
Crack!
The sound of ripping like a craft paper bag emanates, and the frenzied Fang Ting is punched and sent flying before she can bite anyone.
In face of Fang Ting's sudden attack, Fu Qian does not step in to rescue, but chooses to observe quietly. In his view, such a surprise attack, although unexpected, would not pose any real threat.
It is an opportunity to see if there is any exploitable strength. If the Wen family couldn't handle even this, they should give up the idea of being a power player.
Considering the way her body twists upon hitting the ground, it seems certain she wouldn't survive.
Fu Qian looks up and sees that the person who saved Wen Li is none other than the middle-aged man accompanying young Master Ye. It appears that this group has already searched around outside and returned. She must have been hypnotized. It seems the other side has an expert in this field, the middle-aged man says, inspecting Fang Ting's body and nodding to Wen Shuxian. Thank you, Master Ji. Wen Shuxian, still recovering from the shock, thanks the middle-aged man.
Uncle Wen, you're too polite. It was just a helping hand. Young Master Ye finally finds an opportunity to make his presence felt and steps out with a laugh. With us here, nothing will happen to Wen Li.
Before he can finish speaking, one side of the room's wall suddenly shatters. A huge white pillar, with a thunderous wind sound tearing through the air, instantly engulfs Wen Li's figure. Wen Li deceased. Containment failed. In the midst of chaos, Fu Qian looks through the gap in the wall and sees a gigantic, oddly shaped figure. The monster is at least 3 meters tall, covered from head to toe with what appears to be a layer of stone, with its head a simple sphere with several holes. At that moment, it stands before a broken pillar, precisely the one Fu Qian had earlier kicked and broken. The severed pillar had been hurled like a javelin, crossing tens of meters in the blink of an eye to execute a precise kill.
The previous sudden madness and attack by the maid were not expected to succeed. They served solely to locate for this creature.
Amid Wen Shuxian's earth-shattering roar, the bodyguards finally react and start attacking, but all are thwarted by the monster's thick stone shell. After breaking through the resistance, the monster plunges into the lake next to the villa and disappears in an instant.
Chapter 17. Chapter 17. Eat My Gun.
Fu Qian stands in the warehouse, still tasting the success of the assassination he just pulled off. The whole operation reads like a professional's blueprint. First, the maid next to the target is hypnotized. Then, the plan calls for a covert poison and a clean disposal.
If that fails, transcendent beings wait outside, ready to use the maid as a beacon and strike fatally. Miss Wen's survival looks anything but guaranteed. Sand points dip by 1 as the containment scenario kicks in.
Fu Qian re-engages the mist gate, repeats his old trick, kicks a stone pillar to shatter it, and melts into the crowd to slip into the villa. He bursts through the door and finds Wen Li still sipping soup.
Stop right there, Fu Qian roars, firing an air bullet that explodes the bowl, drenching Miss Wen from head to toe.
He lets the maid, Feng Ting, live for now, preferring her to stay under Wen Shuxian's men's control. Killing her on the spot would expose the outside assassin's escape.
Fu Qian still expects the external attack, so he uses the same pillar as before to lure the stone giant to strike from the same direction. Everything follows the script, and he silently counts the seconds.
Wen Shuxian demands answers. Why? Who sent you? Fu Qian shrugs. I don't know. I really didn't. The dialogue between Wen Shuxian and the maid reaches its deadly climax. The maid lunges at Wen Li, and Fu Qian springs forward.
He darts ahead of the middle-aged man surnamed Ji, kicks Wen Li into a wall corner, and the enraged father of Wen Li roars, rushing to his fallen child's side.
Ji arrives just then, delivering a silent punch that lands harder than any blade-wielding foe. Fu Chan meets the blow head-on, feeling a fierce surge that rattles his bones and makes his arm tingle. Finally, someone makes him bleed.
Ji staggers back 3 steps, face flushed, clearly injured. Before Ji can speak, a massive roar shatters the air. A white stone pillar rockets through the wall, landing where Wen Li stood.
Dust and debris billow, and Wen Xiuxian, who had been holding Wen Li, freezes, staring at the pillar embedded in the floor. One heartbeat later, the pillar would have turned Wen Li to dust.
Fu Qian ignores the bewildered father, grabs the pillar, admires its uncracked surface, inhales deeply, then pulls the whole thing out of the wall with full strength. He strikes a cool pose, hurls the pillar back, and it transforms into a javelin, slicing dozens of meters through the air. Outside, the stone giant, still in its insensitive routine, hears a violent wind and sees the returning pillar. Its massive rock-covered body is defensive, but clumsy. It tries to dodge, but the pillar smashes its right leg cleanly in two. Blood splatters red among the flying debris. The stone giant crashes to the ground with a thunderous boom. Simultaneously, Fu Qian leaps through the newly created hole in the wall, following the danger. Though one leg is broken, the giant still claws at a nearby car, hurling it at another stone pillar. The pillar shatters, and the luxury car, young Master Ye's, splinters completely, recalling the earlier wreck by Little Wolf Girl. Rocks on the ground stir, coalescing into a strange new leg for the giant. It staggers upright, limping toward the lake. Fu Qian kicks another nearby pillar, launches it, and the javelin strikes the giant's back. The impact shatters the creature, flinging stone slabs aside to reveal a naked man in his underwear, unconscious on the ground. Bodyguards swarm him, but Fu Qian sets the pillar down, sensing a deeper trap.
A sudden explosion erupts from the earth. The surrounding guards collapse, clutching their heads. One lone guard lifts the unconscious man and dives into the water, confirming an accomplice hidden among the ranks.
Wen Xiuxian and his party finally catch up. Still composed, Wen Xiuxian addresses Fu Qian sternly. Fu Qian glances at Ji, who shields Wen Li, young Master Ye, and the others.
He knows now is the moment to stick together and avoid distraction tactics. Miss Wen, though pale, appears unharmed. Fu Qian had moderated his kick to avoid killing her, at worst a broken leg. Wen Shuxian asks, "Is this the attitude you have toward the man who saved your daughter's life?" Fu Qian snorts, hands clasped behind his back, and replies, "No need for courtesy. I'm merely fulfilling someone's request. There's a person who doesn't want her to die." He laughs long and lofty, claiming to act on a higher purpose.
Wen Shuxian's eyebrows knit, eyes widening with doubt. "Who is that someone?" he demands. Fu Qian points at Captain Gu. "I'm an elite member of Captain Gu's team," he declares.
Young Master Ye interjects, "Uncle Wen, this man's background is unknown. We can't trust him blindly. He let the attacker go. They could be colluding." Fu Qian coldly retorts, "Heaven cherishes life. I simply didn't want unnecessary killings." In truth, he isn't eager to chase the assassin. He values a high-minded individual like himself. Killing Wen Shuxian would raise immediate suspicion, and the wasted sandpoint the attacker caused is unforgivable.
I believe him, a weak voice suddenly interjects, as the talented girl Wen Li speaks for the first time.